Welcome back to the Get Off the Treadmill podcast for practice owners and leaders, where we are obsessed with how to build a successful practice and get a life too. Hi, I'm Chuck Blakeman, and we're going to dive into another topic that helps us make more money in less time, get off the treadmill, and rehumanize dentistry by giving everybody their brain back. Today, we're talking with Dr. Paul Etchison. He's a dentist in the South Chicago suburbs, and he works only 120 clinical days a year. You need to find out how he did that. He did a startup about 7 years ago, and his practice has continued to have exponential growth each year. And I'll brag on him. He's got everybody who started with him 7 years ago is still with him. He's doing something right. Mm-hmm. He's the author of the book, Dental Practice Hero, from ordinary practice to extraordinary experience. And he's the host of his own podcast, the Dental Practice Heroes podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the Dental Practice Heroes podcast. He's married, and he's got two girls who are 7 and 3. So there's a lot of women in that household. And one guy, I understand your problem. I feel for you, Dr. Paul. We're glad to have you.
Thanks for having me back, man. You know, it's funny. People say that there's a lot of estrogen running around at your house. I'm like, man, you just see where I work. I work with 22 ladies.
You're used to it.
Oh yeah. I guess they like me. Who knows?
That's great. Well, the last time I had you on, we talked about your book, the Dental Practice Hero, and this may not be some things that are directly in your book, but this is part of the things you've learned from all of the learning you've done. You're an insatiable reader, I know. We want to talk about how to attract and retain the best talent in the world, people who never want to leave. I just said you've got people who have been with you for 7 years since the beginning. So you obviously have a handle on some of this. Yes. So let's dive right in. What are some of the things that you could start with on how to attract and retain the best people in the world?
Well, I think what you want is you want the right kind of attitude in people, because that doesn't often change. That's something that you can train and you can't train attitude. That's deep in their values and their work ethic and things like that. But you want to find people, and I don't have like this magic interview process where I ask them questions like, tell me about a time you were challenged and you really came through, because I don't know how to ask those questions. And I think a lot of people know the answers to those. They can make the answers to that.
Yeah, they've been asked that in 7 different interviews. They got a canned answer for that.
Yeah, so when I sit down, like say, for instance, our most recent hire, her name was Katie. I said, so tell me about Katie. What is Katie like? And then she goes into, well, I can take alginate impressions, and I'm comfortable doing, and I'm like, whoa. What are you like outside of the office? Like, what do you do? So I want to know just like, I just want to know, when I hire somebody, they need to be easy for me to talk to. They need to smile a lot, and they need to be fairly outgoing.
Which is pretty much what you want them to do with your patient.
Right, exactly. So I feel good talking to them. Other people will feel good talking to them, and then the patients feel good. And I think something that's really cool about our culture at our practice is that everybody fairly gets along, and maybe that's because I've hired people that I get along with. I don't know. It's hard to say what it is, but I think, it starts with putting an ad out that kind of weeds out the people that aren't so great. I mean, your ad is your first opportunity to sell your office to the patient, or not to the patient, to the potential candidate. And when I do an interview, when I get to the point where I like this person, then I go into my sales pitch and I'll say, this is what we're about. This is where we've come from. This is my history. And then I give them this brand book that I've written. It's about 22 pages and just says, this is what we're about, and this is why we're different. And not everybody is cut out for this. Yeah. But if you want to be part of this, we're happy to have you.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think there's 2 things you've hit on there we need to stop on right now and make sure everybody gets these points. Number 1 is the ad has to weed people out. This is an interesting approach. We have the same thing. I actually, at our GOT summits, we do these quarterly, and we've got 2 different ones. And in one of the GOT summits, we talk about rehumanizing the workplace, giving everybody their brain back. Part of that is on this hiring thing. And we talk about the snarky approach we have is, how do we get people to quit before we hire them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we want people to be opting out as much as opting in, and the ad needs to get them to opt out. If you want to be this kind of person, or this kind of team member, then this would be a great place for you. If you're like this, probably you shouldn't apply. that stuff should be in an ad. It should be very clarifying. It should divide people very clearly between who should run towards you and who should run away from you. So I think that's a powerful first place to start with. And as I'm saying this, there's actually a third thing that comes from this. This is really deep stuff. It's so simple, but it's deep because you just made an assumption. You made an assumption that people should run to you, that you don't have to go chase good people. I hear this all the time. I can't find good people. Good people are really, really scarce. And we have this scarcity mindset where we are on the edge of our seat trying to do anything we can to attract somebody good, and we can't seem to find it. You just made the assumption that you're going to scare people away in your ad. I think that's a powerful, powerful assumption.
Well, I think that's it's good to. I'll tell you recently, so we're doing a massive expansion where we're almost doubling the size of our office. And we got to the point with a dental assistant that we put out another ad after going through 3 months of interviews. So maybe asking for at least 2 years dental experience. Maybe we got 50 resumes. We called about 25 of them. We invited maybe 15 for the interviews. And I think like 7 showed up, So we got to the point where we just put out an attitude. We will train, no dental experience necessary.
Awesome.
It was on Indeed. We got 150 resumes, which within like 3 days we had to shut it off. But the kind of resumes we were getting, some of them were like a quarter page, and it just said, "I take impressions and stuff." And one was like, "Getting my GED it's getting." Like not getting is getting. And I was sending these to my buddy who also owns his own business. I'm like, I can't believe these things. So we're never going to do that again. We're going back to kind of weeding people out. But our last, I want to say 4 hires have come from people that know people. Like this assistant that we just hired was a daughter of a patient, and she's fantastic. But the thing is a lot of these great employees, they're not leaving. They're not looking. They're loyal. They're content. They're happy wherever they are. They're easygoing people. So those people are hard to find because a lot of times you're finding the job hoppers and you're finding people that are just upset with life. So I can't say it's very easy to find people. I might have to deal with a scarcity mindset that there's not a lot of them.
Well, there aren't a lot of them, but they are findable. I think.
Yes, they are findable. I'll agree with you.
We don't have to settle, I think is the message, is we don't have to settle. To your point, you came down to the last 4 people or whatever, and they weren't what you wanted. Too often we say, well, we'll take the best of the worst.
Yeah.
There's 4 people left and we don't really like all of them perfect or that well, but we'll take the one that is the least worst. I say that way too often. Never lower your standards like that.
We did that about a month ago and it lasted about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep. That was the only fire I had to make. And I knew it from the beginning and I should just...
Yeah.
I had a seminar.
Yeah. You went to a seminar. It wasn't too expensive. It was a 2-week-long seminar.
Yep.
Cost a few $100. Yeah. So one of the other things you said right out of the gate was attitude. I hire for attitude.
Yeah.
And I'll broaden that out because one of the things we've learned in our experience is what you're talking about from my perspective is you're hiring for stuff you can't teach.
Right.
You can't teach attitude. People either come with this good attitude or not. And maybe if you had a lot of time and energy, you could change someone's attitude, but that's not the business we're in. This isn't a sandbox. We don't have time to re-engineer people, and we can't take the risk that it won't work because it's a very high risk thing to try and get someone to change the way they look at life. The innate stuff, the talents, we hire for talents. First, we hire for the attitude. And the attitude to us is the cultural stuff. How do they view work? How do they view patients? How do they view the world around them? That's cultural stuff, and that's going to get them connecting with your culture. So that attitude, you talked in our last podcast about the idea that happiness and what was the second one? Communication. Oh, understanding was in there as well.
Understanding, that was on there too.
Understanding and happiness and communication. These are things that you hold as values in your practice. Well, you need to see that people have that ability to have that kind of understanding attitude of their patient and when they get frustrated. So to me, that's huge because that flips it on its head. Mm-hmm. What we do when we hire a consultant to find us a hygienist or or a new assistant is they plug in keywords in a keyword search and they go through some kind of piece of software and they're looking for skills and experience. And we have no idea whether they're a great attitude match or not. And the problem with going after the skills and experience to begin with is that it biases you to try and shoehorn somebody in. Well, their attitude isn't that great, but we'll help them with it.
Yeah.
I think it's huge. Go for the attitude first.
I like the cover letter. That's my favorite part of the resume. I like the cover letter. And I can tell you, you can have 4 pages of skills. When you come into my practice, you don't know shit.
Yeah.
I don't care how much experience anyone has. They will come in. I've had assistants that have been doing it for 10 years and they come in and they're just as good as assistant 1 year out of school. Is nobody has ever pushed them to meet their potential, and nobody has ever spent the time to train with them either. And if you have the attitude, the skills come later, because I think I will go down a 10-mile radius from my practice and I will take the best dental assistant there is, and she's going to come to me and she's going to be about 15% where I need her to be. Wow. But she'll be 100% within 6-7 months while we're going, you know?
Well, that's not really a tangent from hiring, but it does speak to why people are continuing to stay with you, because one of my convictions about everything from hiring on up is that we have to have a high bar. Mm-hmm. So you talked about having 3 or 4 people show up. It wasn't good enough. You had to, after 3 months, you put the ad back out. Yeah. That's a mindset of excellence and a high bar that refuses to settle for anything less than awesome. Yeah. I learned that years ago, and then I saw it recently again, writing my 3rd book, Rehumanizing Dentistry. I was studying Netflix, because Netflix really gets this. They got a slide deck, and in their slide deck, they talk about, this slide deck is actually for people before they hire them. They say, go watch this slide deck and then decide whether you actually want to apply or not. And I think that's something we could do. Our ad can do that. Put more things in your ad and say, here's our values, vision, mission. Here's everything about us. Take a look at this and then decide whether you actually want to apply. But in that slide deck, they talk about a big part of their culture is stunning colleagues. That everybody at Netflix is a stunning colleague. There are no exceptions. We don't have 7.9s. We have 8 and aboves. 7.9 is a 4-alarm fire. Everybody is a stunning colleague at Netflix. And one of the slides right after that says, adequate performance receives a generous severance package.
There you go.
And I love that. But see, you're communicating that right up front when you will not settle for the least worst of the 4 who are there. You're telling everybody in your practice that the bar is really high here, and you're waiting for that right person. And when you get that right person, you have one more stunning colleague, which is another reason people don't leave. And it's another reason why you hire well, because you don't want to disappoint everybody else. Yeah. These kinds of things are self-fulfilling prophecies. Yeah, true. If you're compromising, you'll end up at the bottom. If you're refusing to compromise, everybody will be pulled to the top with you. I love it. So what else?
So, I think a big thing about when you actually hire and you find these people with the attitude is that you have to invest energy into them. Yeah. So this is involved. We talked a little bit on the last podcast about, asking them, what can we do better? Where do you need more help? What can I do more with you? And we do that. And then we also get feedback on what we're doing from those people. And then we take the time to actually work with them. I'll tell you, a dentist will work with a dental assistant for 5 years, and every time they take that instrument, they just, in the back of their mind, they go, damn it, I wish you would hand that to me different. Damn it, I would. But they never say it. They never sit down and go through this stuff. I'll tell you, when we do root canals at my practice, we'll dry the canals. We always do it MB1, MB2, distal buccal, palatal. It always goes in that order every time. We don't have to ever talk about, okay, give me the MB1. Okay, give me the one for the MB2. We just do it in that order because we want to be efficient. So, and then we work on, hey, when you hand this to me, it'd be nice if you angled it this way, the way it's going to go in the mouth. Hey, maybe, and then my assistant will say, well, maybe we should get 2 of these. And when you hand me this one, I'll hand you that one back. And then we could do it even faster. So we're always getting better. Awesome. I also think you have to invest, you have to go take CE together. That's really important too.
Together. I think the operative word is together.
And I'll tell you, to take 22 people, it's expensive,
Yeah.
but your return on investment is there. Not only is it great for team building, it's just great to hear other ideas. I think we get stuck in this microcosm, just tunnel vision, like it's where we just don't look out for other ideas and bring things into our practice. Because when we take C as a team, my team's fired up. They're like, man, I really like that idea. We should try something like that in my practice. I'm like, yeah, why don't we try it? Let's do something different. And they're all excited about improving. But otherwise, you just start doing the same shit over and over again, and you go nowhere. And that's where that burnout comes from. And then it's not fun.
Well, that speaks to that's one of the reasons I can tell you why people are still there after 7 years is because you are investing in them. And there's no shortcut to that. Even with that new person, you have to take the time and energy to teach them how to hand you the instrument. I can't tell you how many times we've talked to dentists about, why are you coming to our GOT Summit alone? Why are you here alone?
Mm-hmm.
Even if they brought 2 or 3 other people, then there would be that viral effect of 4 of you going back and being able to share this. Too often it's the dentist who goes back all hopped up and like he's on a drug or something. And he shares this with 21 other people who don't really care, aren't invested, and can't wait until the drug wears off so that we can get back to what we were doing before. I love it that you're bringing them and you're investing in them to do that.
I went to a seminar by myself, came back and said, hey guys, I just learned all this stuff. We got to do it. This is it. And they said, I don't think that's going to work here. What do you mean it's not going to work here? Eventually I took everybody to that and they came back. They're like, let's do it. I'm like, that's what I've been saying. They're like, well, you didn't say it like he did.
That's great.
It's like the prophet is never respected.
I was just going to quote that. There's this old proverb that says a prophet is not acceptable in their own hometown.
Yeah. So
and I think that's reality. Yeah, my wife doesn't think I'm all that smart, but when I go to Africa, I'm a freaking genius.
I know. I tell my wife the same thing. She doesn't get it either. They should get together and talk about us.
That's right. Well, that's beautiful. So invest in those people and invest in them right up front. It sounds like you're talking about whether it's formal, informal, but you have this mindset that as soon as someone enters your practice, there's going to be some sort of very, very intentional mentoring going on with them to get them where they need to be. You're assuming that they're not where they need to be, or even if they're great, that they can immediately get better. So you're going to invest in them. But I don't have time to do that. I'm too busy doing dentistry. How do you respond to that kind of? That's a valid response. I'm so busy. How do I take time to do this?
So I'll kind of tell a story that I learned from a consultant is that when I went down from 4 days clinical to 3 days clinical, I just said, oh, this is great. I'm working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday's golf, Friday's golf. I'm going to have all this time. And at first I did have a lot of time, but then what slowly started to happen was that the wheels started coming off. I wasn't there as much. I was being, as in the E-Myth with Michael Gerber, I was being the technician and I wasn't doing the other stuff. So what I realized is that I have to be in there investing my time and energy into the practice and the people. And I had a consultant made me realize this. So then I started going there on Thursdays on my day off and just talking with people in the office, talking with my office manager, working on systems, coming up with ideas, providing direction, training people individually. And it was just like, bam, skyrocketed. We got right back to where we used to be. And I think it's like, it's almost like they say, if you had 2 friends and you're like, hey, will you guys come help me move? Just come help me move. And the one guy just says, hey, I can't do it, but I'm going to send 3 workers I hired. And now they give you 3 people. And then your other buddy comes and he says, yeah, I'll help you move. So then 2 months later, they both call to ask you to help them move on the same day. Are you going to the guy that sent you 3 people or the guy that invested his time and energy into you? And you're going to invest the time and energy, because when we give time and energy into our team, we're telling them that they matter to us. They are important. They are human. And this is probably in your book, Bringing the Human Back to the Workplace. It's human. It says you matter. Yeah. So that's why it's critical to actually invest that time. And it's the results and the ROI is huge. I realized that my time, if you had to monetize it, is better spent training, mentoring, and leading than it is with a handpiece in my hand.
Boy, I wish I could. I'll probably take a quote out of that and splash it all over our website, because That's so much the truth. The data shows overwhelmingly for 125 years, when leaders are involved with the people and they build relationships and they train the people and they invest in their people, the business, the practice, whatever it is, runs faster, runs better, has higher productivity, and much fewer people leave. When we are instead focused on the assembly line, the production, whatever it is exponentially lower. The production is exponentially lower. So it's one of those ironic things that we're unwilling to look at. We're too many of us are production crazy, and we have to understand that we need to focus on getting those people where they need to be, and then they will figure out how to make the production work better.
So true.
It's exponential. Well, we're out of time here today, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit, give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about your book and how to get a hold of you and get on your podcast.
Yeah, so my book, Dental Practice Hero, is available on Amazon. It's also, audiobook is available on Audible. It's in the Kindle version. You can just check it out on Amazon. You can search my name, Paul Etchison, or just search Dental Practice Hero. It's probably a little easier to remember. My podcast is on iTunes. You can also find it on Facebook. And it's a good podcast. We talk a lot about communication and leadership. That wasn't where I intended it for it to go, but that seems to be my wheelhouse, and that's what I like talking about. So it's almost where we always inevitably end up going when I have a guest on. Find me on Facebook, friend me, send me Facebook Messenger. Be happy to reach out, talk to anyone. Let's talk. Always want to help somebody. So.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Paul Etchison, it's been a joy to have you with us today. We're looking forward to your continuing impact in the dental industry. Let's make dentistry what it ought to be. Thanks.
Fine. Thank you.
If this podcast was helpful, please subscribe by computer or by phone, or connect with us at www.gottsummit.com, 2 T's, G-O-T-T summit.com. That stands for Get Off the Treadmill. We have those summits quarterly for dental practitioners only. Or connect with us at www.chuckblakeman.com or email us at grow@cranksetgroup.com. Let's get off that treadmill. Let's get into the participation age. I look forward to seeing you in the next podcast. Thanks.